Okay, welcome back around the world and in Australia and Tasmania. We've got 14 seconds remaining in this game. Basically, a repeat of the previous under 23 underage Worlds Finals, where Turkey were the victors against Australia 2 years ago. Joining me in the commentary box as the players start this game is Dave Lambert, the Australian men's team coach. How are you, Dave?
Very well, Stuart. Looking forward to this game. I know the Australians are pretty keen to bit of a revenge match, but the Turkish, I've seen them playing, and they're very strong in that. So looking forward to this. Already the Turkish have pressed it back into the middle of the court. We'll see what's going to happen here.
Yeah, not surprising. The Turkish guys are big, strong, fast athletes, so I'm not surprising that they're coming out pretty hard against the Australian defence here. By the looks of it, the Aussies are managing to control that defensive pressure at the moment, just sort of basically allowing that puck to sit underneath their sub-bench as the referees call an infringement. So it'll be interesting to see what the refs have called here. My apologies, they are actually calling advantage at the moment, so the play is continuing. Now the referee chucks his arm up and down, the buzzer goes. It looks to me like he's calling an infringement against the Turks, and the Australians will get the advantage puck here, Dave.
Yeah, that call was against Mert number 13. Looked for sort of a chop on one of the Australians' arm, and he's been forced back, and the advantage was played for a long time. It's good to see that. It keeps the game flowing until the advantage is lost, and where Australians are setting up for a bit of a free puck melee.
You can see the Aussies sort of all set up on the wall there, and the Turks have got a nice sort of square and wide player sitting in the centre of the court. That guy can be used as the Turkish drive the Australians all the way back onto their defensive corner of the tray as the referees call another infringement. It's going to be interesting to see what they call here. They're giving a warning to one of the Turkish players for a free arm, and again, it's going to be an Australian advantage puck, Dave.
Yeah, that was a tremendous drive, but obviously a bit too invigorous. He was using his arm to wedge himself under there, and the referees were right on top of that, called it, and the Australians got a free puck out to get relieve that pressure.
Yeah, so the Kiwis have got a good, not the Kiwis, the Turkish guys have got a good stretch of players across the pool, which I think is probably their plan to try and stop the lateral switch the Australians so often use. It'll be interesting to see if the Turks can actually contain the Australians just on one side of the court here, Dave. They certainly are at the moment.
Well, they're certainly set up for that, Stuart, and I think that's putting a bit of doubt in the Australians for not taking out there. So if you're an Australian player and you're looking up and you see a big wall of turkeys across the pool, then you're not sure what you can go on. But we've got another call, obstruction. Again, the Turks have been forced back in the play, and obstruction. So the Australians get to move forward, and let's see what the Australians can do with this play.
Yeah, so initially in this first 2.5 minutes of this game, the Turkish team is putting the Australian under-23 men under a lot of pressure in defence as the Aussies decide to take it over the left-hand side of the court there, away from the cameras. The Turks look like they're onto that movement as they just sort of meet them on the far side wall there, Dave.
Yeah, no, they as you said, they have a spread defence, and there's probably about 2 or 3 meters between all their players, and as they line up, they respond to the fact, and they don't chase the puck. They came across and screened it very nicely. Unfortunately, the Australians have been called here on a chop and being forced back, and it's over to the Turkish players to see what they can do with it. And they're lining up pretty strong. And again, we've got the Australians doing a very similar defense, trying to screen them across and cover all their different options.
Yeah, so you saw the Turkish guys in front of the puck, three basically just sort of beam each other nice and close as they drive that puck into the defensive corner of the Aussies' far side there. You can see the Australians getting a rotation going on that back wall, and they're going to have to be very careful to maintain their defensive structure here under the pressure of a Turkish team that is intent on trying to apply as much attacking movement on these Australian guys as they can get, Dave.
Yeah, I think they recognize the size differential between them and the Australians, and they put a big wall out there, and that's sort of an intimidating line. You can say that I've seen that. A number of you played against it. I've seen it happen where a large wall, and you think twice about what you're going to do, and makes you hesitate. That hesitation causes you to sort of lose track of what you're doing, lose connection with your other team, and opens up an opportunity for the attacking team.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've noticed about this Turkish team that is kudos to them is that they're very good at maintaining good physicality on the bottom, very good at maintaining their position on the bottom, keeping their hips close to the bottom, regardless of what sort of movement they're doing. They don't often lose the physical contest when it's just a one-on-one sort of puck battle, especially when someone's trying to drive through them there, Dave. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Australians can sort of come up with a solution for that conundrum.
Yeah, look, it's a matter of I just don't want to see the Australians fall into the trap of trying to take on the Turks one-on-one. I think we can see the difference in the play. So the Australians got to be courageous and stay true to their form and see if they actually can dictate a bit of this play. Because at the moment, the Turks are dictating how the play has been made.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're certainly applying a lot of attacking pressure as they stream onto this switch. The Aussies are trying to get going. They've been pushed right back, the Australians, as the Turkish guys managed to cut down this switch and they hit that back wall in, like a vigorous contest. There's a Turkish guy that hits that back wall and tries to get some kind of advantage to try and drive that puck close to the tray. I think the referees have again called an infringement, probably looking like it's against the Aussies this time, as they desperately try to defend against a solid Turkish push onto that back wall, Dave.
Yeah, Stuart, that was a strong force, and it just was relentless. It was like pile driving it into that against that back wall, and they tried to do just about everything they could. Rotated the bat so they weren't gloving it up the wall, so they actually drive it with the bat. Good on them, but again, they're fully strong in there, and the Australians are trying to clear it out, but the Turks are, you turn around and they're right there as well, trying to feed it back into the middle of the pool and recycle it so they get a clean drop. But again, the Australian defense is pretty solid there with their captain leading him in the back.
Yeah, Josh McKenzie's doing a good job of leading the charge in the defence at least, and the Aussies are managing to soak up this constant pressure the Turkish guys are putting them under. But I'll tell you what, I'm seeing a lot of good bottom time from those attacking Turkish guys, and they're hitting the back wall. They're trying to go down the back wall, and when the Australians stop them, they just bring that puck off and sort of do a little slide pass back into some waiting players a little bit off the back wall. So the Australians are going to have to keep that good defence going and soak up a lot of this pressure as their coach, Nick Martin, calls a timeout. With about 8.5 minutes remaining in this first half, Dave. Yeah,
look, you're absolutely right there, Stuart. It's going to be pressure like this. I think I saw them play against Colombia earlier. I think it was Colombia earlier, and the Colombians had to absorb a lot of this pressure. So the Australians in this game will have to absorb that pressure, that constant pressure, that bombardment from the Turkish have. They're relentless. They're coming at them time and time again. So the Australians need to absorb that and look for some space and try to drive it up into so they can turn the game back onto their favor and relieve some of that pressure. But at the moment, they're right in front of goal, and the Turkish are lining up for a straight drive straight into the goal.
Yeah, well, interestingly, the Turkish coach didn't even leave his little box to go and talk to his players then, and all the Turkish guys stayed in the water on that timeout. So I think they're pretty confident, pretty happy with how they're playing at the moment as the Aussies managed to clear that puck over to this near side of the court, right underneath their sub-bench. It's going to be interesting to see if the Australians can get some subs in the water, some fresh lungs, some fresh legs, and try and create some quality Australian play in here, Dave.
Yeah, look, right you so. If they can get some fresh guys in, they might be able to drive it out. But I tell you what, looking at the Turks, they're pretty fit. The Australians are pretty fit. Attended a couple of their training camps, and Nick and Greg Stinson put them through their paces, and so they know what it's like to hurt in these situations, and this is what they train for. And so have the Turks. So we're under constant pressure here, the Australians, and the Turks are setting up. They're setting up a sort of an umbrella back line. They got their three guys out in front, making a bit of a wedge. And it looks like we got some delay in the start of the game. Not sure if it was a timeout. Referees, something's going on here, and we're getting it sorted out.
Yeah, so it's an advantage puck for the Turkish team. And it looks to me like the refs are actually searching for an Australian player to put in the sin bin here, Dave, as we can see an Aussie come out of the sub-bench and swim over to that sin bin area.
Yeah, so that's 5 players now. The Turks got 5, and I'm not sure who that was, but it might have been our friend Ben Stefanis who might have been singled out there to go serve a 1-minute penalty.
Yeah, so Aussies are down to 5. The Turkish with a full complement of 6 as they press the Australians in deep defence for the Aussies. And the buzzer goes again. The ref's calling another free, and this time the Australians get a reprieve, a little bit of a relief for the pressure as they manage to defend that quality push onto their goal tray. And the refs push those Turkish guys back, and And the Aussies would be pretty happy they get this advantage puck here, Dave.
Yeah, no worries, Stuart. Yeah, I'd be relieved. And the play starting again, and let's see what we can control with 5 players. I just did the French game, and the French, every time they were down a player, they actually put more pressure on the opposition team, which was the South Africans. And it was interesting to see how a team, when playing one down, put extreme more pressure on the players. Looks like we've got another referee's timeout. We've got referees singling out more players, having a bit of a chat to one of the Australian players who seems to be being singled out here. I'm not sure who that is, but he's been sent out, so the Australians are down to 4 players, and the referee is called on gloving. He sent him out for 2 minutes. Obviously, he was doing something extremely intentional from the referee's point of view. So it's 6-on-4.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. It's number 7 sitting in the bin, so that's the new guy out, Marco Rolfs. And
Cameron Lewis looks like he's been signaled out for the 2-minute penalty.
Yeah, that's right. So they're down to 4 again, the Aussies. And thankfully for the Australians, they've got an advantage puck for them as Ben Stepkovic swims back to the sub bench and get the right player back in the pool. A very sort of desperate time now for the Aussies, Dave.
Yeah, and looks like Marcos is looking like he's getting ready to get back in. So the Australians will be up to 5. Let's see what the 4 players can do against this onslaught of the Turkish onslaught of 6. Just put it into the corner so they can actually control it, contain it, and just spend some time until they get players back in the pool. And Marcus is just getting gently back into the pool, so the Australians will be up to 5, but the Turks are relentlessly trying to drive it back into the goal. But it looks like Josh, we got number 11 for the Turkish team. Number 11, which is Kuskin, is being sent out for 1-minute penalty for a bit of unsportsmanly. He sort of had a bit of a shove at the puck, but I think he actually missed the puck and actually hit the player, so accidentally, but still too unfriendly, and he's been sent out for 1 minute. So now we're at 5 each. Cameron Lewis is getting ready to get back into the play, so the Australians will probably have about, 45 seconds, Stuart, for an advantage on the Turk with a player up.
Yeah, that's right, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to that because basically all the attacking moves have been from the Turks, and the Australians have basically just been defending for the first 10 minutes of this first half in what is turning out to be a serious competitive match between these two teams. A lot of good defence coming from the Australians, and they've just been managing to keep the Turkish guys out of their defensive goal. It looks to me like Mertkan Sapkioglu from the Turkish team is also being put in the bin as the refs have another timeout. The Australians getting another advantage puck. So by the looks of it, I think there's 2 Turkish guys in the bin now, so they're down to 4. The Aussies are 6. Back to their full complement of 6 strength players. So the Australians will be really looking to push this numerical advantage against these very strong Turkish team here, Dave.
Yeah, and this is a good opportunity for the Australians. The Turks need to settle down, start playing their game they were before. Don't get caught up in trying to play the referees, but the referees are still having a conversation about the players because I think Chief Ref Chris from New Zealand is quite concerned that they actually were pointing to other players. But I'll leave it to Chris. He'll sort it out. He's a very experienced referee, very strong, and we're all looking to the bench whether it's the right player in the side. But Chris is saying, nope, that's the way it is. Sit down, relax. You got 1 minute on the side.
Yeah, very interesting passage of play here. I mean, for a long time in this first half, the Turks, in the referee's eyes, could do no wrong, and there was a lot of calls going against the Australians, which I obviously have no problems with it. But by the looks of it, there's 3 Turkish guys in the bin now, which is very unfortunate for this Turkish team.
They've sent number 6, Sedent, in the penalty box as well for Prentice. So that's 3, 6-on-3. Come on, Australia! It's it's your opportunity here to get some blood in there.
So the Turks come out to the left-hand side, this near side court, trying to hold it on the wall. They know they're really under the pump now with 6 versus 3 as Josh McKenzie gets that puck and he drives the puck back into the centre channel. A Turkish player just following these Aussies as they really drive hard to try and turn this opportunity into some kind of goal. The referees have seen the infringement, so it's going to be pulled up there's going to be a playing stoppage here. And I think, unfortunately for the Australians, it's going to go the Turkish way this time, Dave.
Yeah, it looked like the referee saw one of the Australians take the puck from an underhand maneuver and then try to flip it over to the other side, but used far too much glove for the referee's liking. And the Turks, one of their players is getting ready to jump back in. Number 11, Kuskin, is joining, but it looks like someone's called a timeout, Stuart, and I'd say it's probably the Turkish team who've called a timeout with a very few seconds left in getting back to at least 4 players. They'll probably play another minute, 45 seconds down to 4 players.
Yeah, so there's still 3 guys in the sub bench for the Turkish team, and I'm not surprised that the Turkish coach has called a timeout here because, 3 versus 6 is certainly not a situation that any team wants to find themselves in at any point in a game, and particularly when you're 0-0 in a very tight match here against the Australians and the Turkish. I know that the Australians would be very keen to get a goal in the tin prior to getting any of those Turkish guys in the sin bin back in the water there, Dave. Yeah,
look, it's an opportunity that as a coach, and I'm sure Nick and Stino are sitting there going, come on, guys, licking their lips. Here's a good opportunities. They're not going to come easy in this game, as we've seen, and we got to take it as we got it right now, and the game's ready to get back to play with 3 seconds to start, and the Australians are set up for let's see what they can do with it.
I reckon the Turkish guys will want to take that puck and just keep it in that closest corner because that's where their players from the sin bin are going to be coming from, and that's really where the security is. But it looks like they're actually pressing an advantage here against the Australians 6-on-3, which is a brave move as the Aussies kind of turn it around and try and drive back through the middle. The Turkish guys have got some more players back in the water now. Yep. I think maybe all their guys are back in the water. So the Turks have done a very good job of keeping the Australians out as they press their advantage right up into the Australian goal tray. The buzzer goes right before the Turks have put the puck in the tray. I think one of the Turkish guys is calling for a 2-on-1, but unfortunately for him, the referees have given that advantage puck to Australia there, Dave.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of wishful thinking on number 8, Metcalf, for wanting and trying to persuade the referees to call it the other way, and I think he will find that it is an Australian free puck, and the Australians are setting up for their free to take it.
Yeah, so off the Australians go on that far side court, just driving over to the wall there. The Turks meet them there, and again, this sort of fierce contest continues where you can see those players hitting the surface and rotating around quickly to get back behind the puck in good positions on the bottom. The Turks are just driving it back. The Australians are defending at the moment, I think, trying to get some kind of advantage as a nice little swim for an Aussie on that far side occurs. But again, the Turks counter-attack. And it's tit for tat at the moment over in that corner. Desperate times for both teams at the moment, Dave.
Yeah, look, it's up and down. There's the same number of players on both sides going fisty in there, fisty out, and then we got another referee's call. It's just ferocious in there. I'm certainly glad I'm sitting here in the dry of the calling the game rather than in there. I'm exhausted watching this drive, and there's a bit of discussion going on. The referees need to clarify what they're doing. So obviously both sides are getting fierce in there, and we're not 100% sure what the call is going on here. So referees got obstruction against looks like against the Turkish team again, and the Australians have I think it was about 8 seconds left in this half for what's going to happen in this. But let's see what happens. And we got 2 minutes left, Stuart. I made it bad.
Yeah, 2 minutes to go in the half. It's easy to get the clocks mixed up as the clocks always switch between ref time out and actual time for the game. But it is an Australian advantage. And I tell you what, unfortunate for Australia that they didn't capitalise on that period of time where there was 3 Turks versus 6 Aussies. But you can see just how quick those Turkish guys are. That Australian defender tried to get that switch going, and that Turkish attacker was basically just on him the whole way as that puck is held in that deep defensive corner for the Aussies there, Dave.
Yeah, look, I think that switch was just a little bit too slow and a bit too flat there, Stuart, and the Turks were straight onto it because if you recall, as you played, the Turks learned a lesson about switching in South Africa where we moved it back and forth, and it's my understanding that at least 6 of these players played in that game, so they learned a valuable lesson that they're not going to get caught out again, and they want to cut that down early, and so they are right on top of the 23 boys trying to emulate some of that fast switching.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's actually 5 of this Turkish team are in their elite team or were in their elite team from Stellenbosch in the Elite Worlds last year. So Dave's right. They're probably at least probably a maximum 5 of those players in the water at the moment. And I'm sure they are all over the Australians trying to switch it, as is indicated by their conduct in this game in this first half with 44 seconds to go. Right underneath the sub-bench, that's where the play is at the moment, and the Australians are desperately trying to keep these Turkish onslaught at bay as another ref's call is made and an infringement has been seen. But basically, the majority of the attacking moves coming from the Turks in this first half, Dave.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I've seen them play earlier, and they like to attack. I mean, they're not a defensive team, and the Australians, as you well know, Stuart, we pride ourselves in our defense, and the Australians are standing up to that attack. We just got to convert some of that defensive play into some puck control, and then start dictating the play. But at the moment, Turks are all over us.
Yeah, that's right. As the time ticks down and there's the half time being called, the Australians would be very happy with the fact that that the halftime buzzer is gone, because they were in deep defence there. As I think Turkish number 8, he just keeps on coming up and trying to fist pump and sort of seduce the referees into calling a 2-on-1 penalty. I mean, I guess there's no harm in trying, and sometimes if you are seeing the play unfold that way and you do think that it is a penalty, well, you've got to ask the question there, Dave.
Yeah, look, I think he's very hopeful in that, because again, number 4 from the Turkish Amar was given a warning for his infringement. So I think he's very hopeful again, because the call was made against the Turkish team. But you're right, and get on and play the game. Stop worrying about what the referees are doing. The referees are totally ignoring him and getting on and calling what I see as a very fair. The games, the referees calls, they are what they are. They see what they see, and at this point in time, I kudos to the referees. This is a tough game to call. There's a lot of pressure by the Turkish team on the Australians. It's going either way. I mean, the calls are even. We've had players sin bin from both sides. At one point, the Turkish team was out. But it's wonderful that the sun is down in Hobart at the Aquatic Centre. The competition lights are on and the pool's lit up, and really enjoying the games down here. And again, a good thank you to both the state government and the Aquatic Centre here at the Dune Aquatic Centre for allowing us to start early in the morning and continue to play. And as someone who trains here a lot at this center gets used a lot by all the swim clubs, the water polo, underwater rugby, water polo, Stuart, and it's very wonderful that they allow us to hold our world championship here for the age group players.
Oh, mate, it's a great centre, and it is definitely awesome to see all these amazing athletes here at this Hobart Doon Kennedy Aquatic Centre. Just to recap the performance of the Turkish guys up until this point. Yesterday they played against the French under-23 men's, and they won that game 2-1 in a very tight-fought contest. And then they had a game against, just lost my spot here, Colombia this morning, where they won against Colombia 1-0. Again, another very tight contest, but both games the Turkish have actually managed to find what it took them to win that game, and now they're playing against the Aussies. The Aussies are coming off a win against the South Africans, where they beat them this morning 3-1 in the first game with 20 seconds to go in this countdown to the second half. So both teams, I think, are hitting this game sort of somewhere near their straps, Dave, but well, in that first half, it was kind of all attack by the Turks and all defence by the Aussies. It's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in this second half. Yeah,
I would love to have been in the huddle on both sides. Unfortunately, I wouldn't have been understand the Turkish side, but I'm sure he's saying, come on, guys. We've had lots of opportunities to score a goal. Let's finish it off. And I'm sure Nick was on the other end saying, come on, guys. Let's keep our defence in, but let's look for getting some more control of that puck. And straight away, it looks like the Turks have pressed the Aussies back into their sort of half of the pool. And again, they're going to start that relentless, but unfortunately the referees have pulled the game up. It's called obstruction against the Turkish team, and the Australians will get a free puck to do something with.
Yeah, it was a nice initial drive there by the Turks. A lot of pressure put onto the Aussies from the get-go in this second half. And the Australians will count their lucky stars that they get this advantage puck as Josh McKenzie decides to take it into the centre channel and then reverse it back out to a waiting halfback on that near wall, right underneath their sub-bench. The Turks were pretty onto them, though, as it sort of gets it jammed up in a whole bunch of players there. The Aussies are just maintaining a little bit of possession, but unfortunately for them, they flicked it under those players there, and there was no clear advantage as the Aussies run a 45 across the court, and again are met by a serious contest of the Turks, and they get driven back into their defence with a big run through the centre channel here, Dave.
Yeah, here it comes. The Turks coming in numbers, but also the Australian defence is down in behind the puck, so they're actually defending well. The Turks are trying to shovel the puck along the back wall, and I'm not sure where it is. It's because everybody's down there on the bottom of the pool, and it looks like we got the being called. The referees are looking on. He's played advantage. We got a 1-goal signal. Yes, the Turks have popped one in, Stuart. It looks like number 5 for the Turkish team, Ismail, scored a goal on a drive, Stuart.
Yeah, Ismail Sarikaya scored that goal. A very nice team goal by Turkish team there, and the Australians were really put under a lot of pressure after they had that puck in a good defensive position on their left-hand side, right underneath their sub-bench. But the Turks basically asked them a whole bunch of attacking questions all the first half and the start of this second half, and they just managed to sneak that puck through the defence of the Aussies right along that back wall, which is unfortunate. The Australians won't be happy with the fact that they allowed a goal in along their back wall, but a Turkish guy has just been ejected for a dangerous flick, I believe, for 2 minutes. So the Aussies are going 6 versus 5 against the Turks at the moment, Dave.
Yeah, let's see if they can take advantage of that player up situation, and it is unfortunate. The puck does travel, and sometimes heads are in the way. It doesn't look like it was a deliberate one, but he still got a time penalty. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 1. Stuart, did you happen to catch what that was, a 2 or a 1 penalty?
No, I couldn't see the finger of the ref, unfortunately. It's definitely obviously 1 minute. Now another foul has been called on the Australians this time, so the Turkish guys will get disadvantaged puck as the Aussies get pushed back, which is unfortunate for the Australians. And actually the referees have returned or changed their decision. One of the other refs was obviously playing advantage for Australia on an infringement that occurred before the infringement that was called by that previous ref that was trying to set up for a Turkish advantage. So the Aussies will get an attack on the Turkish goal right in front of the tray as they take this free puck and really try and press some kind of advantage. The Turkish structure proves the test of that Australian question there as they drive that puck out to the far side wall there, Dave.
Yeah, Chris was right on. There was advantage being played on the other side of the pool, and he correctly said, no, sorry, it was the other ref, so the Australians had it. But you're right that the Turkish defense was sort of umbrellaing and spread out enough to actually make sure they screened across. He's referee now is pointing at a player who's trying to swim to his bench, but I think he's going to be called back. He is, and it's another Turkish player being sent to the bench. Number 6 is in there, Seren. He was out, and I'm just trying to see the number coming out here. It's number 12, Sina Demestra. He looks like he's gotten a 1 minute penalty, so the Australians are got a 2-player advantage. Let's see. Come on, guys. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, the Australians have really got to take this opportunity now. 6 versus 4. They're going to take this puck and hopefully for them put it in the tray because the Turks have managed to keep them out the whole game. I must admit the Turks have ended up spending a fair bit of time in the sin bin. The Australians certainly aren't not getting off scot-free either with the refs, but I can't imagine the Turkish coach is going to be happy with the amount of time his players are being sent into the sin bin there, Dave.
Yeah, no, I think it'll do him some good if he has a bit of a discussion with the referees afterwards to learn what they're doing, so they don't they should correct that for the next game because games like this, when you're down players, it all counts and it's close like this, and then they you just can't afford, and now they're back up to the 5 players. And the Australians are still bottled up on that side, unable to bring the puck out and move it around. Stuart, I don't know. The Turkish are actually countering by driving it back into the Australian end, just on the side. And I think they're back to full strength. Yes, then number 12, Sanin, just got back in. So we're back to full strength, Stuart.
Yeah, so the Turkish team are really doing a good job of defending the Australians. 2 players down and 3 players down in that first half, and both times the Australians just couldn't come up with an attacking option that actually ended up in any kind of proper attacking crack at the Turkish goal there. So I think that's definitely something that the Australians are going to have to talk about in the games to follow. With a numerical advantage of half the team out in the sin bin, they just cannot afford not to put a goal in those situations, Dave.
Yeah, it looks like We got another infringement here. It looks like number 2 minutes coming out. No, it's number 2 actually. No, it's actually number 12, and I think he's got a 2-minute penalty, and that's Sedin again. He just came in from the bench, the sin bin, and now he's gone back in. So Australians got another advantage up. I think the Australians need to start taking some control of the puck, stop having to fight with it. But as you see right there was one Australian there, and there was 3 Turkish players all over him, and he had no support there, and I think that's what the Australians need to do. Hurry up, hustle and support, get down there and own the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, so Sina Demirtas is spending some time in the sin bin for the Turks as the Australians have got it in their deep defensive corner, just sort of to the rear of their sub-benches. The Turks, with one player down again, just sort of try and press their advantage down this back wall. The referees are calling the infringement again, but I'll tell you what, the Turkish guys are looking very strong in that deep attack area. They're really trying to press that advantage that they can gain on the Australians, really asking the Australian defence some questions on that back wall. And I must admit, the Australian defence at the moment is not looking that strong on that back wall there, Dave.
No, it is what it is. I mean, the Turkish are big boys, but that doesn't mean they can't just blow through players. You need to be on the bottom. You need to have strong positioning and keep there. But look, there's 100 people down on the bottom of the pool there. Can't see a thing. Referees are making a call. We got a penalty being called. Looks like a penalty shot being called there, Stuart. I'm not 100% sure, but the Australian defense was just, as I've described, in a ruck and maul situation. They were mauled into collapsing, and obviously they were too much in the way. So it's a 2-on-1. Got 2 Turkish players against. It looks like it's Josh stayed in there. Yeah, it's Josh McKenzie going to stay in against the 2 Turkish players. Can't quite see their numbers from here. Number 5, Ismail, is taking the free puck against Josh. Josh is done quite well, but unfortunately, I think it's gone in there, Stuart.
Yeah, that's right. So Josh McKenzie desperately trying to keep that puck out. I don't know. It looks to me like a ref has seen something bad occurred in that infringement, and the referee is actually pointing to one of the Turkish players and with 2 fingers in the air. So I'm unsure if he's actually throwing a Turkish guy out after that 2-on-1, which would be an unprecedented decision. You don't generally get an attacking team's player that's taken a 2-on-1 penalty thrown out, Dave.
Yeah, I don't think in my 35 years of hockey I've actually seen someone get in, but they're pointing to it looks like number 9.
And I think that was a dangerous flick.
Calling a dangerous flick. So obviously it hit Josh in near the head. So number 5, Ishmael, who took the free puck, flicked it, and it has hit the defender, Josh McKenzie, in the head. And referee saw fit to disallow the goal, but also send the number 5 out for a 2-minute penalty. So again, the Turkish are under again. Number pressure, but unfortunately it hasn't translated to the 6-on-4, and the Australians, the Turkish fellow just swam out there, won the strike, and taken it straight to the wall to sort of hold it there. The rest of them are just casually swimming over to join him.
Yeah, it was the captain of the Turkish team, Ismail Sarakaya, that flicked that puck, and unfortunately for him, in the process of trying to put that puck in the tray against Josh McKenzie, got the puck a little bit too close to Josh's face, and then got 2 minutes. So now they're down to 1 player in the sin bin. So Ismail's still there as the second Turkish guy prepares to get back in the water. Number 12 is just sliding in there now. Sina Demirtas back in the water. So the Turks are back to 5, with the Australians obviously in deep defence with 6 in the water still, but still unable to generate any kind of quality attacking move with 7 minutes to go in this second half. They just continue to have to defend and stay under pressure by this strong Turkish team, Dave.
Yeah, it's just hard to believe they're 1 player up, and what they're trying to do is just hold that puck against the wall in the corner. But we got another referee signaling what's going on, and look, the Australians need to. It's a call against the Australians by the looks of it. And the Australians need to sort of start adding some courageous moves to this thing and get that puck into some open space and start using the numbers into their advantage rather than allowing the Turkeys to dictate how they're playing. And the Turks are setting up for and they're not letting go. They're setting up for an attack on the goal.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't seem like there's any stopping this attacking pressure from this Turkish team, and they're obviously very well drilled as the Australian team calls a timeout there. So each team is going to get a minute to go and have a think about what's been going on and what they need to change to try and stamp their dominance on this game, Dave. With the Australians 1 goal down, 6 and a bit minutes to go.
Yeah, look, it's probably a good timeout called by the Australian team. The team needs a bit of a direction in ensuring that they actually start capitalizing on these players. They have 6 players. Let's start using all 6 of them rather than falling into the hands of the Turkish, where they can actually control the puck with the numbers they have by shutting down the plays up and stuff. As we got the coaches on both sides are yelling encouragement from each side, but let's see what the Australians come up with. The Turkish team needs to just sort of relax and keep their numbers in the pool. They do that, they'll probably have a better chance at trying to hit the tray again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I tell you what, they've definitely been playing good with 3 and 4 players in the pool. So, it'd be very interesting to see what they could actually do with a consistent period of time with all of their players in the pool. The Australians, thus far, just have not been able to generate or many, if any, attacking moves that have really worried the Turkish defence. A couple of times they've had it in their attacking half, but the Turkish defence has just had all the answers. And most of the time they've been defending very well by just having a really good offence there, Dave.
Yeah, look, another obstruction call against the Turkish. The Australians get a bit of a reprieve there, and they can actually set up to get something happening here. And as you remember, Stuart, we saw a few games where the Turkish played a number of teams down, players down, and they did really well. So they must be well trained at it, because they really do survive not playing shorthanded. But kudos to them in their training, because they're very fit lot of boys, and so are the Australians. There are always numbers on the bottom in trying to drive things out and second and thirds efforts and that, but some loose passes of the Australians, which is a bit, I think they're a bit, still a bit rattled, these young fellas, with the Turkish pressure constantly on them. And this is where little mistakes happen, and the Australians need to calm themselves and get control of the puck, Stuart.
Yeah, so, you're right. There was a few loose passes there, just sort of some interesting options taken by the Aussie lads as they tried to sort of bring that puck over to the near wall underneath their sub-bench. Just took a couple of options that just sort of weren't on, didn't consolidate possession, and now they're stuck in their defensive corner again. You can sort of see them trying to get bottom position, but they're basically just being muscled off the bottom, or not shown a quality bottom position by those Turkish guys that seem to be all over the bottom at the moment, just waiting for an opportunity to press attack on these Aussies, Dave.
Yeah, not only they are on the numbers on the bottom, but they're actually flat on the bottom. They're in a stronger position, and the Aussies are trying to fight for that position, and they're getting into weaker positions. Again, the Turkish has been called for obstruction, and the Australians are setting up to try to do something with this play. I think they got to sort of try to pull a rabbit out of a hat. We got 4 minutes and 17 minutes to go in the game. Turkeys are 1 up on the Australian in the second half at the Hobart Aquatic Centre.
Yeah, so Koskin, Yagiz, Aiden. My apologies for my pronunciation there, Koskin, if I got that wrong. But he actually got called on a dangerous flick for 2 minutes. So he's going to be in the bin now. Another person from the Turkish team. Another 2 minutes that the Turkish team have got to play with, 5 in the water versus 6. So, again, the Australians have given a good opportunity here to generate some kind of attacking move, to take that puck into the attacking half of this court and move it around, hopefully, and let's see what they can actually generate here, Dave.
Yeah, well, look, they're running out of time. The clock is ticking. We're down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds left to go, Stuart, and it's now, it's getting pretty close to, if they want to get back in this game to have a chance at a win, they got to tie it first, and then they got to deal with it. But kudos to the Turkish team. They're actually putting the Australian under extreme pressure here, and I keep saying this, that they're keeping the game bottled up in the end, where the Australians don't want the puck. But again, the referees have called it, and the Turks have been asked to move back. The Australians have moved to the middle of the court, and let's see if they can make something out of this, Stuart.
Yeah, that's right. They've been given an advantage puck, and the Turkish player there got given a warning by the referee. Another timeout's been called. So with 3 minutes to go, basically, in the second half of this very hard-fought contest between the under-23 Turkish current world champions in this division versus the current silver medalist at the last World Championships. These two teams have met before 2 years ago, and unfortunately for the Australians, the Turkish won that gold medal match and the Australians had to settle for second place. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Australians can pull out something special. And if they do here, Dave, they're going to pull out something that they have not displayed in this game thus far.
That's right, Stuart. Look, I think the Turkish team is dictate how the Australians play this game, and as you know, and as I know, we don't like playing that way. And if we get caught up in that trap trying to play how they dictate us, then that doesn't allow us to play our sort of hockey. And that's what the Australians have to do. They have to take some courageous steps and demonstrate that they actually can do this. And like you said, show us that something that they haven't done all game.
Yeah, so the Australians take this advantage puck and try and establish some kind of forward movement here, but the Turks, again, are right on them and drive them back into defence as they have a big drive. The Australians, good defence there as they take that puck over to the back left-hand corner of their defensive side as number 5 for the Turks. Ismail Sarikaya, the captain, does a lot of attacking moves, and well done to the Australian defence for just sort of nullifying his movements there as they have the puck underneath their sub-bench. I'm sure the Australians are trying to get some fresh players in the water at the moment, but the Turks, again, are just holding them up with some good structure and a lot of strength on the bottom there, Dave.
Yeah, and we have another call by the referees playing advantage. He sort of used his hand accidentally, so the Australians will get another opportunity with 2 minutes left to go in this game. It's their opportunity once again to sort of do something with. And let's say they set up a bit of a move to the middle of the court, and let's see what they can draw in here, Stuart.
Yeah, that's right. So the Aussies take a little bit of a 45 into the centre channel there as the Turks, as they've been doing all game, just sort of surround the puck and then drive that puck down to the far side corner. The Australian defence is just sort of sweeping back to cover any kind of attacking moves the Turks want to put on their goal tray. The Turkish guys got a good rotation. You can see just how well they kind of control the play. They've got 3 guys on the surface, but they're still putting a lot of pressure on the Aussie defence there, Dave, as they take it all the way to the corner of the tray. Yeah,
and they were back to full strength there, Stuart. And looks like they've just driven in a goal, but I'm not sure what the referee is saying. I see one signal. Yes, it is a Turkish goal by, I'm not sure what that symbol was, but it looked like maybe a 4. So Ashmir Afni has put this game sort of out of reach of the Australians with 1 minute 19 to go. It's now 2-0 for the Turkish team. And unfortunately, the Australians have not been able to capitalize with playing advantage players simply because the Turkish have dictated the play for them, Stuart.
Yeah, that's right. With a minute to go, I'd be very surprised if the Australians can come up with what it takes to win this game or even draw level with the Turkish guys. They've basically proven in this game. I'm sure the Australians will swim this whole game out and be trying to learn the lessons of this game as they try and drive that centre channel and get turned around by the Turkish defender. He does a very good job, the Turkish guy, of just maintaining good possession and stopping the Australians from driving any further down the court. But again, the refs call an infringement on the Turkish guys, and the Australians will get a free puck with 44 seconds to go. But I'll be very surprised if the Australians can generate enough quality attacking moves to get 2 goals in this last 44 seconds, Dave.
Yeah, no, look, I think the Australians need to sort of try something here and see if it'll work and remember how they do that because what they've been trying all game has not been working, Stuart. Unfortunately, the Turkish strength in their numbers on the bottom and dictating the play has sort of nullified the Australian use of the 25-meter pool, the 15-meter in terms of width. And now we're sort of seeing the last 20 seconds of the game, and we're seeing a bit more open in the pool, but the Turkish are willing just to shut down the pool and put it to the wall, Stuart.
Yeah, that's right. I think the Turkish guys realise that they've got this game in hand now with 8 seconds to go, 2 goals up. They're still attacking, which is good to see. It's good to see that they don't stop their aggressive play as the clock runs down and full time is being called by the chief referee. A very convincing win by the Turkish under-23 men against a competitive Australian under-23 men's team that just did a lot of defending, a lot of good work, but just did not have the attacking ability to be able to take it to this very strong, very physical Turkish team, Dave.
Yeah, look, kudos to the Turks. They came out wanting to defend their title, and they showed the silver medalists from last year that we're here to win it. It wasn't a fluke last time, and they're all strong players. Dictated the play right from the early buzzer, and for both halves they played it. And the Australians had their opportunity, Stuart, playing lots of advantage in terms of numbers. If I was the Turkish people, I'm just going to duck outside and see if we can get some the Australians and maybe some of the Turkish players stirs. I'll leave you to close off, and thank you again for inviting me in for this one. I'll talk to you back on soon.
Thanks, Dave. It was a great game to watch, a great game to commentate, and congratulations to the Turkish lads in a very well-fought victory against the Australian under-23 teams. They saw it out to the end, but like Dave said, in this particular match, the Australians just did not have the attacking capability to really take it to the Turks in this case. And I'm sure these teams will go back to their respective drawing boards and learn those lessons they can from this game. But thanks a lot for listening, guys, and we'll just cut to the pool deck now. Hopefully we can have a chat to the couple of players before the next game continues at the 4th CMAS Age Group World Championships. Cheers.
Only got 1 minute. Well, I'm on the pool deck here. I'm trying to get someone here. I've only got about a minute left before we got to start the next game. I'm sure the Australians are a bit disappointed, but they certainly has got some time to things. I might just get a quick word from Coach Nick, convener Nick, and that sort of thing. Disappointing result, Nick, but I think it was a hard-fought game in there.
Yeah, look, Dave, I like not to think too much about the results. It's more about how the game goes and how the boys played. Look, couldn't be prouder of them. We've got a really young team, and look, they put it all on the line there, and a couple, one kind of major mistake in the first half that cost us that goal, and just struggling to find our attacking mojo.
Yeah, no, it was some really great defensive by the boys. They held a very fierce Turkish team out there. They were relentless trying to come at you. Kudos for your back line for holding them out. Yes, you're right. You couldn't convert it back into the attack, but and you had some opportunities, but plenty to work with.
Yeah, look, our focus has always been about our defence as we work into this comp, and over the last couple of days the guys have come leaps and bounds, and if we can start turning some of that energy into some aggressive pressure, then look, I think we can be a really competitive team in a couple of days' time.
Yeah, congratulations again, Nick. Sorry about the loss, but things to work with. Thanks again for taking the time to talk to us.